A short introduction. I'm Karen Moran. I'm the archivist for Liberty Grove Historical Society. And for the past 10 years, I've been hoping to find Sam, or one of the Potawatomi elders, to explain Potawatomi life and culture to us. For a minute, I'd like you to think about what we lost when colonial expansion started 4 centuries ago. I mean, most of us have trouble figuring out our own age right now, but it's a long time and it's a long history, and that's what we're going to learn today. The last known evidence that I've been able to find so far of the Potawatomi people living here in what became Liberty Grove is the 1875 census. 2 family groups lived in Rowleys Bay along the Mink River and they were known as Indian Joe and Indian Ben. And then later in Sam Rogers' trading post in the Ledger, he noted business with Indian Lewis. So that's basically our only clues to find the stories, and then it's whatever's passed down through the families. Our lives have been affected because Door County, as it is today, would not be as beautiful and full of natural resources if the first people that lived here had not cared for the forests and the land and the fisheries and used good sustainable practices, which once again in history you relearn, and once again sustainability is the key word. And so there are many messages that our guest is going to bring to us today. And what I love is that you could make the trip and join us, Sam. This is Sam Alloway, and he is the Forest County, correct me if I'm wrong, Potawatomi Nation Cultural and Culture and History Director and Cultural Preservation. Well, you changed the name over the past couple of years when I've been pursuing whoever the conservation officer was, and you learn something all the time. It used to be tribal, and now we're celebrating your nation as the Potawatomi people. So I'm going to stop talking and turn over to the expert who knows what he's talking about. And thank you so much for making the trip and joining us today.
So I'm going to set you up once you sit down. The cord is. You have to really speak in the microphone.
Oh, please. Yeah, of course. I can't.
Excuse us.
Yes. I have a knee that doesn't want to work. All right. Go ahead. Pull it away. All right. There you go. All right.
Close to the mic.
Okay, as what Karen was telling you about, there's a lot of, first of all, I'd like to, say, Indigenous Kakegi, Jik Mukdodan, Bodaway, Wadami, Anishinaabe. My name is Sam Alloway. My government name is, that's what they give me when I went to a boarding school. I went to 2 boarding schools. But yeah, I have a long history of my people that lived here. Not just here, we lived all over the whole state of Illinois, Indiana, around Michigan, pretty much the Great Lakes, long before Jean Nicolay. Hundreds of years before him, we were here. We can date that back through our tribal historic preservation, our tribal TIPO officer. We have like a lot of departments within our cultural preservation where I'm employed. I'm employed as the Cultural Preservation Division Administrator. where we revitalize our community within our own language. Our language is a living language. It's very, very powerful how we speak our language, and there's no swear words, there's no dishonesty, nothing like that. So that's another thing that what do you call that? Christianity. That's our story, our story, how that went, it's very hurtful because I still hurt today just by, acknowledging that but I'm going to acknowledge your spirit in a way, that we all can come together and be as one here today. I always think about, our cultural ways and how we do our ceremonies back at home. Our whole community comes together, even in, death and stuff like that, It's just numbers and numbers of things that we do. And Karen had approached the tribe, I don't know how many years ago. I know they did some presentations within the Door Auditorium. A lot of the legal aspects of, our people, sovereignty, it just goes on and on and on, about who we are, but we're still here yet today. And she said she'd be giving me 10 minutes to speak. But in reality, we can sit here for weeks and talk about a lot of things and a lot of our culture. One day, it was like a bad timing, really, because we have other bands out there too share our similar story here, because they were removed too. And then our drum group consists of many of our young youth, and they sing on a drum, and they speak the language. It's just ongoing, and that's revitalizing the community because of what was taken away. We kind of look back at 1978. 1978, we were given permission to, do our cultural ways. It's actually an act, really, of United States given. It's called a religious act of freedom, giving that to us to practice our religious ways, and not just our Potawatomi, but all tribes in the United States. A lot of that was taken away, and they couldn't do none of that. If they did, they would be jailed. They would be put in prisons, and just taken away from the community as such. Like the Christianity. Man, this is very touching to me because what the boarding schools did to us, and it's kind of taken me off the subject of why I'm really here to do a presentation, but that's all part of it, it's the truth. It's the truth of who we are as Potawatomi. Bode Wadmi, that's our real name, Bode Wadmi. Potawatomi come from the French. The French couldn't say our Bode Wadmi, that at the end, that's Potawatomi. That's keeper of the fire. The fire is very, very sacred to us. When we grew up, we were taught how to make a fire. All the stories of the thunder spirit that comes from the sky, gave us these teachings of our creation story of how the Creator put us on Earth here. We have a creation story, and it's very similar to all the religions out throughout the whole world. And it always goes back to one thing where we all come from, is water. Water. That's how we were born. Our female. You guys are very powerful. We respect you. And that great honor because you guys give life. And when we're born in water, as babies. So you're given that task from the Creator, and it's very powerful. Even in the ceremonies today, how we teach our young ones when they become of age, we don't, shame them in that way. It's a very, very beautiful way of teaching our young ones of coming of age in that way, because they're given that life. and then they're not to be ashamed of and teased and stuff like that. But we have other, stories of creation of how we were teased, and we weren't supposed to be doing that because it's a spirit, really. There's all kinds of spirits, mad, glad, sad, happy, glad, all those, jealousy, all those are all spirits, and they play a role within our life every day, so sometimes you got to acknowledge it and give thanks, and, like when the sun goes down, like what they told us to give thanks for that day, or when it comes up in the morning, because that's life too. You see all these branches and these trees, it's all ecological to, our traditional knowledge too, that's another thing is our cultural resources that are still here. Our people were here for a reason. It wasn't here just for the beautiful everything, At one time it was all trees, big trees. All these trees contain medicines, and they still do today. So that's another reason why we protect the water. Because without water, we're all nothing. We'll all dry up and we'll go back to the Creator. But there's a lot of things. I brought some literature here. I didn't bring enough though, but all of this is online. Just go online. You got Facebook. You can go on Facebook and kind of look at our culture and what we do today, how we're revitalizing our community in that good way, because of our belief, I mentor a lot of youth today, drugs, alcohol, what that did, it's still killing us today. Alcohol is the #1 killer in the United States and the whole world, really. If it doesn't, they tell us, they said, if it don't get you now, it'll get you later on, it'll come back because of how powerful that poison is of alcoholism. And but today we revitalize it. We work with our youth. I have some out in Red Lake, Minnesota right now, learning how to make a traditional canoe. And they're not made out of nails. They're made out of the earth. Every little element that goes into that canoe it comes from the earth, the birch bark, the cedar, the animal fat, the ash, the ribs, all that, how it forms. They can make, we had like 30-foot canoes at one time, and then they're down into like 16-footers, right? So a lot of those canoes were built here, back. That's that tradition being passed on to us, so that's what we do today to revitalize our community, not just that in culture, but in our language. It's very powerful. It's a living language. And I just like to, acknowledge some of our ones that passed on here, our ancestors that, they're here. I acknowledge them to be here, kind of help me out because, sometimes I get ashamed sometimes, but that's that spirit again, that kind of knocks me off of what I'm trying to do because there's a lot of those bad ones out there that kind of push you around a little bit, those are spirits there that kind of nagging you and knock you off the good things that you do. So all the good things that you do, there's always that one that kind of knocks you away, but you ask the Creator to take care of that. So after I'm done, you guys can come up and kind of look around. These are all sacred items I have here. They're not artifacts. They're actually gifts. They're given to me. Some I made. Some I use in dance. Regalia. That's very powerful because when you dance, you're dancing for everybody, even if you are sick. We dance for you. So all those young ones today, and I'll go back to a couple months ago. I was reading in the Pulse there they were going to kill all these geese, and I was thinking, why are they going to kill all these geese? I mean, they're migratory birds. Isn't there some kind of laws that protect them? They protect all these other birds. There's certain times you can take them, but the Creator gives us that in the season when they're good because they're real good to eat. We add them with wild rice and wild foods, and so I reached out to the DNR and with these geese that they're gonna kill, I'm gonna use them. I'm gonna make dance bustles because this is an eagle wing here. I got from the United States Fish and Wildlife. I got a permit to carry this here, but they're similar to the geese. And what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to make dance bustles for young kids that are like 6 years old that are looking to dance, because that's what we're doing today, teaching them how to dance. We got a dance club, we got a drum club, you know, and every day we do something for them, you know, kind of get them back onto a right track of not falling into drugs and alcohol, because that's very powerful today. You know, we've lost a lot in our communities, not just there, but all over, you know, opioids, and, you know, what that does, you get addicted, you know, and next thing you know, you take too much, and you end up, it stops your heart. So I acknowledge them too, because they're not here, you know. They walk down, especially, you know, my relatives, you know. They'd be here, but I don't know. I'll just get on with my presentation, because that's another subject.
You want me to advance the slides, or you want to see?
I'll have a seat here.
Go see.
Oh, all right.
Just push the corner here to advance. Touch the corner here and press down. And it'll go forward, but I don't know how to go backwards.
We had a whole darn different one, but you got something like this.
So there's a, you can see there's a pad here.
Yeah.
If you push down on this area, it will advance the slide.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to go backwards though. Just push straight down. And then hit play up here. Start again. Can I have some water? Do you want to drink?
Yeah.
There, it's open.
Okay, I could start over here. I do like a lot of presentations within our community. We have, we're the largest employer in Forest County. And we also do cultural sensitivity training for the teachers in Wisconsin, because it's a requirement for teachers. You know, if you don't have that, you know, I really, you know, I'd say go get it, because it's needed, especially in Indian communities out here. So this here is this picture was actually taken in Kewaunee. It was at a fair, and a lot of these, you know, these folks here, those babies down there, I got to see some of them babies there when they're older. They're elders in front of me. So a lot of them up there. They're all relatives. And at that time, you know, Simon Kokwatos, he was here in Kewaunee. And around about this time, they just spoke the language. They never knew English, very broken English. And if it wasn't for Simon, you know, we'd be down in Kansas, you know, living down there where we don't, you know, all our medicines that are up here, all the things we known were not down there in Kansas. It was all flat ground. And so 1929, so figure around there, 1913, that's when we got land acknowledgement from the United States government. And those lands were purchased through treaty monies that were promised back in the 1700s. So that's another thing with our 43 treaties. Not one of them are ever, honored. A lot of them they got us drunk and kind of signed off and not knowing what those ones at that time were signing because they were intoxicated. So these ones here, they're very respectful. Some of them were at Simon's burial. So this is our ceded territory. Like I was telling you before about Illinois and Indiana. You can see Door County on there. These are the areas that hold our treaties back in the day. And we have this in our museum, so if you ever get over to Forest County by Crandon, stop in, come look at our museum. It's very beautiful, a lot of knowledge in there, a lot of education on our people, how our elders told us about, fur trade era. One story about LaSalle, about I guess they never found his ship. It sunk somewhere in Lake Michigan somewhere. Some say it's over on the East Coast, but his ship was jam packed with furs, beaver, wolf, otter. All of them were being shipped over back to Europe. A lot of those came from our tribe, and trade. And we trade for beads, weapons, whatnot, Treaties, 43 treaties that we signed with the United States government. Not only that we did it, we had other tribes that were doing the same thing at the time. Being promised this and that, but none was ever given. Sometimes, I don't mean to offend nobody, because this is our story. Our story is in our museum. Like I say, some of the board members that were asking, I asked them to come over and kind of look at our museum and get a better picture of the stories that were told before. Because, like I said, we go back further than Jean Nicolay, thousands of years before him. How our creation story became to be. This is our Trail of Death. So Twin Lakes, Indiana. So I'll go back. I'll go back here so you kind of picture where Indiana is on here. And this was our home territory back in the day. So now this is our walk. More than 850 of our people were forced to go and put on wagons, walking, children walking, elderly. Think about your grandparents walking this whole thing. Being forced out of there. And with my ancestors, they said, we're not going there. We're going back home. We're leaving, so they up and left. They ran back. That's where we're at today in Forest County, Potawatomi. And such as other bands of Potawatomi did too. They went back home because they didn't know where they were going. And they were still hunted in the early 1900s. A lot of them didn't show themselves because, they didn't want to. They talk about the census and all that, and the census here in Door County, how many Indian people were here. My people didn't want to be counted because if they would have been counted, then they'd be looked for. That's how they were hiding. The Trail of Death. On this Trail of Death, on each of these stops here are plaques today, and explains what took place there, how they camped, and like markers like this here. Indian boarding schools, I kind of touched on that, I don't know if you guys ever, heard about the Indian boarding schools or what took place and how Christianity, robbed, and I don't like to, offend anybody, but they molested and murdered kids, children, as young as 8, 9, 10, all the way down. And when we really look at these photos, we have a lot of photos that are in our museum that explains the boarding schools. And you look at their faces in here, I mean, not one of them are smiling. That's what they lived through. It was hard. Wild Rice, our story was, long before all of this here, we were one band with the Ojibwe and the Odawa, Bode Wadmi. All three of us were, our story comes from the East Coast, the Creator God, as we see him, told us about the food that grows on water, and that's where you're going to stop. And they say they stopped somewhere up by Lake Superior, Sault Ste. Marie, up in that area. We're all one band of Indians, and we were given tasks. They say that's where we split up. We split up in 3 groups. The Bode Wadmi were keeper of the fire, and some of them call us Fire Nation people. And Ojibwe, keeper of faith, and Odawa, keeper of trade. And we split up, and we went our own ways back in in our creation story. So a lot of the plants I told you about are still here yet today. A lot of them are healing plants that we still use. I talked about the traditional ecological traditional knowledge person that we have, and they're a botanist. They know about these plants, and it's just ongoing, like our language. We our elders that before like COVID, some of them passed away. Those fluent elders, but they knew. You can tell why they knew, because they created a dictionary, a language dictionary for, it's the very first one. So we have a library that it explains a lot of things that we do, Simon Coquados again. Yeah, so these guys traveled to Washington, looking for land, coming back like in the early 1900s. Our tribe was established in 1913, around that way, and around about 1934, we made it to the rolls of a federal government. We were given instructions for our if it wasn't for Simon learning English, we wouldn't even know. So a lot of things in Door County here are still here yet, in the ground. Our people are still in the ground yet. We have a few cemeteries not far from this place here. I can kind of bring up some old historic documents, because when I showed you that ceded territory, there's documents all over that we found, historic preservation, even state historic preservation, what they found. They share that information as a Native American Graves Repatriation Act, where we can we protect our ones that are in the ground, because a lot of them were dug up. And just think about your grandparents. If I was going to go over there and dig your grandparents up, how would you really feel? But so they were dug up, and they're over like 1,000 years old. These graves, these graveyards, and they took them and they put them in a museum. You know, Green Bay, Madison, Chicago, all them ones have our remains in there. And yet, you know, we want to repatriate them, but they say we can't see them, you know, but their spirit is still there. And a lot of their artifacts are exposed, you know, they're all out on display, you know, but our people are still there yet. So we have a place in Lamar, Wisconsin, they call Campbellsport, and it's these rock formations there. They're over 1 million years old. They explain the constellation of the stars, and that's one of our gathering sites. And so we have a place there where when we repatriate Indian remains, we have tribes in Wisconsin, nine bands of tribes. We all get together and we can identify just by the beadwork and looking at the remains. Some take them back to their home, rebury them. But there's a place in Lamar where we put them back to rest, and there's over like 300 remains. So this is where Forest County, Potawatomi is today, and it's a checkerboard land. Simon Coquados, he died on the east side of Forest County. 12,000 acres of land. You know, this was all cut over. It was all the ones that cut them over. They said it was no good. You know, they just took the lumber and sold it. But the land was still there. So today, that's what we protect. We protect our lands. Our trees, you know, are similar to Door County here. And if you go on our lands, you know, and you go into Door County, you know, cedar trees and ash trees, maple, oak, all of that, you know, plants, ecological, all the cultural resources, you know, that we protect. We have lakes, but we don't build around our lakes. You know, you see up here, there's houses all around these lakes, you know, and then it takes away from what you really want to do as recreational, you know. So that's one thing we stayed away from, is building houses around our lakes. That way we all can enjoy, you know, fishing, hunting, all of that's in there. This is what we lived in. Tar paper houses, and government gave us these houses. You know, gave us the boards to build them. And then when you really look at them, they gave one plan. It's just a box like that. Some made like a upstairs, depending on how big a family was. My grandparents, they lived in these houses too. I can still remember, you know, we used to go back and go hunting, and my grandfather would show me, you know, what he lived in, and I said, wow, you know, it's, you know, compared to, you know, after like in the 70s and that, you know, HUD housing come in and start, you know, putting their own laws and start, you know, and around about that time would be putting us in the cities, taking us away from the reservation life. This is from my mother. My mother has a collection in our museum, like such as other elder. They would give the photos, black and white photos, and it would become their archives in. But they would get the original photos back. So this is another way to help our young ones out that are looking, you know, they don't know sometimes their grandparents, you know, and so this was in Door County here somewhere. You know, picking cherries. My grandparents, they would come up here to pick cherries every season. They came ripe, and what they did with their monies, they would buy tools. You know, pickaxes or shovels, you know, axe heads, seeds, or whatever they would be getting ready for next year, for their planning at home. You know, because we survived. our root cellars were dug in the ground, and that's where we kept our foods, keep them cool. You know, you dig in the ground, and it's nice and cold, and that was our refrigerator. You know, compared with that tar paper house that you're looking at. Horses. These ones here are my relatives that back in the days there when they were on their way to boarding school too. So when they came back, you know, they that was taken away from them. And it was hard to come back to, you know, to live like that because they weren't supposed to talk about anything because it was taken away. But today we talk about it. They say when you talk about it, you heal. So anything that goes on, you know, we heal in a different way with medicines. Lake Geneva. We even have lands down that way, you know, but they're not ours. We have burials. And burials are protected today. The mounds that they were buried in. Chief Bigfoot, you know, wrote about Lake Geneva. You know, he was buried there with they say his 4 wives. So back in them day, I guess he had wives, a whole bunch of them. Around Simon's burial here. You know, this picture here, it says a lot. You see where the American flag is back there? Where this guy here is standing, Simon Kokwatos, and these first ones on the left. Right where he is there, that's where he's buried. You can see to the left of there, that little grass area. So they have a film like this. It's like probably maybe 2 minutes long, but it shows the actual burial of Simon Kokwatos. And here in Peninsula State Park, they have all the Model Ts. A lot of people that showed up there. I guess like 15,000 people, you know, showed up for his funeral, and that's a historic event. You know, just like today, you know, I come here to speak about, you know, my people. You know, it keeps going on, and you guys ever been to this place? This year changed the way we live. You know, some of us hold on to our cultural ways, and we keep building. You know, this takes care of our kids' education. It takes care of health. It takes care of housing. We have different houses today. You know, living in a tar paper house. You know, and when I grew up, I remember all these because I only remember when there was only one building, you know, and things changed over the years. So that's what I teach today to our mentorship, our youth. This brings employment. We have employment for our youth today. We call them summer youth workers. And they come into the departments and kind of learn. And then we send them off to college. We have a buffalo farm from the game and revenue. Bode Wadmi Kitagan. That means Potawatomi farm. And you know that white buffalo that's standing there? I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Sioux prophecy of why the buffalo is here. You can't experience it in today's society, what's going on in the whole world. And you think about the prophecy why this buffalo is here, you know. He's here for a reason. Not just him, but other animals that are changing out there in the world. They tell us things, and they warn us that it's a big warning right now. So you know, with the ceremonial pipe. You know, I was given a ceremonial pipe, and it's not mine. It's everybody's. I'm just a carrier for it and teach how to pray. This here is our museum. Library. We hold our artifacts. We languages through here. A gift shop. Down below there's like a ballroom, but we host birthday parties. It's a big family event. And on top where the circle is, that's where the gallery is. Funerals, just numbers of. We're kind of outgrowing this really, and we have other enterprises that house us as well. You know, through health. You know, just getting healthy, really. And one thing is sugar. You know, sugar is really bad. You know, it's a killer too, it's sugar. You eat that today, you know, you feel it tomorrow. So I just do away with sugar. Well, at least I did. But this is one of the workshops that we do. I coordinated this one. And see, you can see where that buffalo hide is up on that rack. And that there is a smoking rack. We put, then you see the buffalo how it's like brown like, and that's being rubbed down. And this hide, it was a community event, and it was to revitalize the community. And because we have the buffalo farm, all the buffalo down below, you know, we often thought, you know, well, who's going to take care of these up the road, you know? So we have to do some events. So we had an event of butchering a buffalo, cutting it up, making hamburger, whatnot, and we distributed the meat into the community or whoever wanted, you know, meat. You know, some people, you know, families out there, it's kind of hard, you know, they don't eat meat, you know, but yeah, the rack up there, we covered that up with a tarp, then we smoked it. And we used the brain from the buffalo to tan the hide. So this came out really good. And to make it more, you know, for the library, we're going to do a constellation painting on the hide. And that brings the people back together again, because we... you know, that's a place where we can all heal, you know, boarding school, alcohol, drugs. And today we have a fire burning in our community. They want it to burn as long as it can. That stems from they call a sobriety walk. A lot of our people are suffering because of alcohol and opioids, and that's one place where they can go and pray, and that fire is there for them. To put tobacco in there and cedar and kind of help them families out in a way. And there are some of the workshops here that we did too with the hides. This guy here is my worker. You know, he teaches the young ones how to sing on a drum. We have bigger drums in it. These are hand drums that are used for, you know, other ceremonies. This is one of our canoe making classes. I'm going to say this one was like 2005, I'm thinking, somewhere back in there. But the birch bark, you see the rocks, all them rocks in there, and them sticks. Or poles. That's to hold the canoe up. And these are part of our exhibit at the museum right now. We built these last summer. Youth came back together, and pretty much the community to gather the cedar, that cedar bark on it. That's a traditional home. You know, this is what we lived in long before. You know, and there's one there that has a fireplace in it, and the smoke goes out the roof. So these are made of cedar and ironwood and birch bark. Birch bark's covered on top. And this is our cultural hall. This is where all our events that I was showing you before. And these ones here, you know, indigenous games up in Canada. You know, these guys, they do real good. So all around the United States, they have their own indigenous games up that way. So some of our members that you see here, they went up there. And that's through education. So these are the bands here, 9 bands. They say there's at least 11, 12 bands that are still Potawatomi that are out there. But every year we get together. This year it'd be Pokagon. Let's see if that's up there. Yeah, Pokagon Band of Potawatomi. That'd be in Michigan. It's a week-long event. We teach the language. We do a lot of cultural activities, dance, sing, a place where they can talk. You know, the leadership gets together and talk, and you know, start planning for next year what's going to take place. They go all the way down to Oklahoma and Kansas down that way, and I guess it's really hot, and it's kind of. Being up here, you live up here all your life, then you go down there, it's too hot, you can't live down there. I mean, you just got to get used to it. So you think about, our people, when they walked, they were forced down there and to live. Now you guys got to live like this, and a lot of them died. But yeah, every year we come together. This lady here, my grandmother knew, and all she did was medicine. She's a healer. Anything wrong with you, she knew. Just by looking at you, she knew. If you had bad thoughts or anything, she knew, because those spirits, they're really, that's how she heals. So today, you get some ones that are, not feeling good, they come and they get healed, medicinal, because we still practice our ways. So in 1978, that was taken away, but today we can do that. So this I'm going to say miigwech, thank you, and I had a story I was going to read, but that's going to take like about an hour. So,
Sam, is her last name Thunder? Is it Mary Thunder? Or?
Mary Jane Thunder. She's she's still alive yet, and our health center is named after her mother, because her mother kind of helped build our health center. Through healing. We have our own dental, we have our own AODA, our own eye clinic, mental health, community service, our own pharmacy. See, my wife there, I got her a job there, so she's a pharmacist, so she's a medicine woman too. but yeah, back in the day, that's how the medicine was distributed in the tribe. Somebody gets sick or something, it cuts her. Today we still do it yet. And my mother, she's still alive. She's 96, and she has one lung, and she's very healthy. She was a treasurer for 46 years. She was a tribal treasurer. My grandfather taught her, because he used to be a muskie guide in the lakes up north back in the 20s. That was his part of his income, how he took care of my mother, living in a tar paper house and, wigwams, and, because they still live like that yet. And he became the first deputy sheriff in Forest County, first Indian one anyway. And he still has all the, my mother has all his stuff yet, credentials, whatnot, gun, baton, little leather baton. That thing's pretty dangerous, you know. No, well, just taught her how to count money. Because when she grew up, she took care of these. It was a resort on Lake Wabakan. There's no houses on this lake, but just a resort. It's off tribal land, so the person decided to build a resort there. But it's a very beautiful lake. There's 2 lakes there, and big muskies are in there. Walleye, whatever, you know, it's way in the woods. I mean, you'd get lost in there, and you just would like to just stay there, you know. But she was like 12, 13, and she really wanted a guitar, and so my grandpa said, "Well, you got to work for it." So she worked for it, cleaning the resort. Some of the cabins, you know, people from down south will come up and stay in cabins and fish and hunt, whatever. And she cleaned them up, and she saved all her money for a guitar. And she started getting older, and then she played in a band. And there was like quite a few back in the day. And their specialty was polka. So, but yeah, she can dance, you know, man. It's get you up there, you know. Get you going anyway. It makes you feel good, because when you're dancing, you know, it's like when we dance at Powell's, you know. I encourage you guys to go to Powell's. You know, you see a lot of things there, you know, food and whatnot, you know. It still goes on today. So this information that's up there on a board, you guys can maybe take it down, you know, whatever you want to do with that. There's some literature up there. You know, I can talk for probably days, you know, but it's good to get out here and, you know, educate, you know, you guys on the Potawatomi history, because it's ongoing. It just never stops. We have kids in that learn about the history today. You know, they come down and take care of our archives in the building, and they put them away in files or put them on computers. So I don't know if you guys had any questions about anything here on these.
I'll turn the light on, and then you'll be able to see the hands.
I've got a question. How much do they still use traditional Indian Potawatomi medicine in the health center today?
We have a medicinal healer that comes in, and he'll fix you. Yeah, just by, you know, we do a lot of veterans that come in too that, you know, need the help, and he helps them, you know, either through sweat lodge or a ceremony. And I have, my brother was one of them. He was in Vietnam, and a lot of the things that he went through, you know, he came, he healed, you know, but at the end, you know, he fell down and hit his head. He passed away. But, you know, to me, you know, he was at peace, you know. I didn't like seeing him like that, you know. It's kind of like going in boarding school too, you know. Kind of gets you, you know, because you knew your brother the other way before you went, you know. Then he come back and he's all not good, you know. He was sick, you know. So they helped him out, helped him in that way, a spiritual way, because of what's in there, you know, them things that haunt you or something, you know. It's still today yet, you know. So, yeah, medicinal healers, that's what they are. They come in and help. Yeah.
Sam, we have a question over here.
I came in just when you started to talk, so I don't know if this was already introduced, but do you have any thing you can share with us about what you're wearing today, some of the significance of it?
Okay, what I'm wearing today is my regalia. You know, I got other regalia. This will go on like this, and then I'll have moccasins, I'll have bells, I'll have a dance bustle made out of eagle, like this with the eagle, this would go on the back and it'll look, and we'll put it together with yarn or sinew or, it represents the people, you know, like for healing. I dance for people. I don't dance for myself. You know, at the end, you know, then you do it for yourself.
How many can speak the language?
Not very many, because a lot of our fluent speakers, COVID took them away, all the older ones. You know, we have a caring center, and then a lot of them were there, and they would teach the language. So around that time, they made a dictionary, and they were working on this dictionary because I think they knew, you know, they said, we want this to continue on. How do we do this? So they got together. We have like an elders board and, you know, caring center, you know, and it's a really beautiful facility, you know, that they take care of, and they pass that tradition down. So we have a language department. You know, we revitalize our younger ones after school, you know. We can't teach that in our residential schools because they won't let us. They say, well, you got to have credentials, and these are traditional people, you know. Isn't our language enough, you know? I mean, you can't, you know, learn English, then you got to learn Spanish, and, you know, why can't you teach Potawatomi? So we take it on ourselves, and we have our own language department.
How about the different tribes? Do they have different languages, or is that kind of combined?
Different tribes have different languages. Odawa, Bodewadmi, and Ojibwe are similar, very similar in a way. They have their different dialogue, but they can understand that. And we have, I have one guy that's learning Ojibwe in Odawa right now, and he's like 19 years old. So, but he's one of my apprentices that we teach, because there's quite a few in there that just keep the language going. Like, you know, it's a living language. So every day. I don't know, any more questions, or yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering historically how the Menominee and Potawatomi maybe cohabitated, or how do you know historically? I know the Menominee were also in this area. I know, how did that?
Okay, hold on.
Sure.
We'll go back to here because it's easier to show you. This is our ceded territory, and then when they were giving out treaties, we weren't included in none of this here. See, the Menominee, they were going through the same thing, and then they kind of like with the treaty gave it away, not knowing what they were giving away. You know, some of our fluent speakers, all they had to do was put an X on but they didn't know it. They couldn't read English or nothing like that. So a lot of that was taken away. But this is our ceded territory, and it'll always be like this, you know. And because this is what we teach, even at home. You know, a lot of the names on there are Potawatomi. You know, even Sheboygan is Potawatomi, Chicago's Potawatomi, Milwaukee's Potawatomi, Oconomowoc. It just keeps going on, you know. And if I could bring my computer up on, I can show you a lot of historic places around all of this here. There's cemeteries. All of this is still here yet. And I was telling you about the repatriation of reburials. They're down in like Campbellsport. That's like way over here somewhere. There was millions of years old stones. They're about big as this barn. That were a farmer stumbled upon them, and then it's a consolation of what takes place up above us, because that's another spiritual realm above us. You know, it's not, you know, like what you hear today, you know, because there's a life from here after we leave. That's another way. We don't say goodbye, you know. for me, it's Bama Pigawa Min. That means I'm going to see you again. Maybe I'll see you in the spiritual world. I remember I was talking to Mike. I went over, seen him there. He had a sale. I didn't know who he was, but but he was telling me about these trees, and these trees, they're ash trees. Ash trees are very sacred to our people. We make baskets, and we dye the baskets out of. We use hemlock or certain grasses, berries, and we dye this bark, and we put them together and weave them, and they make very beautiful baskets today, like Easter baskets. All of them they're similar. And I was telling Mike, I said, yeah, he was telling me about trees that he was planting and all the beautiful garden that he made, and I told him, I said, yeah, well, maybe they can save these seeds, freeze them, so let this bug go through and kill all the trees and come back and plant these, and we'll have the sacred wood again. Then he was telling me about this big one that he had, and I said, well, maybe I'll come back in 100 years and we'll talk about it, see how big it got. But it's like that, because maybe we will, because we're going to see each other again, So that's why we don't say goodbye in our language. There is no word for goodbye in our languages. Bama, like later,
How many Potawatomis are in Forest County?
Around about 1,800. Yeah. How many full bloods? I'm going to say maybe 30. A little more than 30.
I was the lucky, I don't have a question, just a comment. I was the very lucky person that was invited to go to the Forest County Potawatomi Museum. And it was a beautiful trip. It was end of January, snow, just gorgeous. And their museum is spectacular. Sam, you've done this great job presenting to us, but the museum, there's just so much more, to this wonderful culture and history, and I encourage everybody to go and visit. It is really something.
There are brochures up here too, if you want to grab one to jog your memory of an adventure.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought a lot, but there's like
Yeah, I can pass them out.
there's like postcards here. Simon Coquados, these. There's our monthly newspaper. I brought the one from May because it explains Chief Simon Coquados and what took place up here in Door County, of his story. But yeah, it's just ongoing, the totem pole, and a totem pole didn't mean nothing to us, it did no because that's more of a Eskimo. Them tribes up that way, they made the totem poles. So you guys can have some of these newspapers here. I got a business card there, what I do. We have a Facebook page. If you ever go on Facebook, just go on there, and it explains everything that we do. All the cultural, like we have the kids out in Red Lake, Minnesota right now learning how to make canoes. And then they make them out of birch bark and animal fat and ash wood, or not ash wood, but the ash from a fire. Those are mixed together to make from the pine pitch. They say the pine pitch is the very best when it's hit by lightning, because the lightning really heats the tree up. And when that tree dies, and all that pitch comes out of it, is just like blood, So they scrape that pine pitch off, and it's actually a medicinal healer too. If you ever get like a cut on your hand, you can put that on your hand, and it'll heal. It'll stop the bleeding just like that. If you're out in the woods, you really need that. You can go to a pine tree and little bubbles on her. Take a stick and pull it off, put it on your cut. You know, stop the bleeding until you can get help or something.
Sam, can you show them the sacred pipe? Just take that out and show them how that you prayed.
You can hold the microphone.
How many of you know what kind of stone this is?
Pipestone.
Where is it? Where do you find it at? That's the only place where you can find it, right? Okay, so this is where that prophecy takes place with the Lakota. See, this pipe come from the west. It went east, it passed through. Same as the drums. The drums come from the west, they passed through. And that was a time of peace. And the pipestone here, it was given to me, you know, and the stem. This is a different kind of wood. I'm going to say maybe sumac. Sumac's a very sacred wood as well. The pipe here is represents the earth, and the white buffalo that you've seen on here, that's a prophecy from the Sioux that was given to everybody in the whole world of peace. You know, it's a warning really. So. And I was telling you before, you know, you see what's going on in this world today, you know, it's coming, you know. You look at all the religions and they say the same thing too. You know, it's just a matter of time. You know, just be ready, you know, just say, hey, I want to go home, you know. I want to see what's going on up there, you know. I don't want to be feeling like this no more, you know. So they always say it's good. It's a good day. You know, it's a good day to die, really, you know, because you don't have to feel all this. But what this is for prayer. What they told me was when you pray with this pipe, you pray for everybody, you know, healing, whatnot. So when you smoke this, you don't inhale it, because we have a tobacco story. You know, we teach them in the Head Start, and these young ones, these kids, you know, they say, tobacco's bad, you know, tobacco's bad, don't, you know, it is in a way. You know, you get all this commercial tobacco today that has all that ingredients in there to get you addicted to smoking cigarettes. And then what happens, you know, these young ones, we tell them, you know, today now it's vaping and all that. So we have an educational series on tobacco, you know, and and these young ones, you know, they're in school, man, even, you know, running fast, you know, and, you know, they don't get winded. So we teach them, I said, when you start smoking, then you'll get winded. So then it's affecting your lungs. So that's why it's important, you know, with how the tobacco is to be is, they say the Creator gave this elder instructions how to take care of tobacco, and he gave him that in a dream, and he dreamed about that tobacco, and that he kept everybody away. He said he didn't want the women around her because they want to take care of that plant, and he didn't want them to take care of it. So he made this barricade around it. Nobody can see it. And then again, they were teasing them, you know, looking at the ground for nothing, you know, and teasing them, and they went away. They went and gathered berries, and they were getting ready for the winter months, and, you know, come back at all the meat, and they were very curious about the elders. Said, well, did your plant grow? You know, just teasing them, you know, and he said, yeah, it did. He said, this is what the Creator given me through a dream, this vision of how this plant became to be. It was a tobacco plant. And then with the plant, you are to pray with it. So it's only intended to pray with it. It wasn't intended to smoke it and get, you know, addicted to the tobacco. Because the smoke, when you puff it like that, it'll go into the air, dissipate and disappear. Same thing with the cloud. You know, you look up at a cloud, it'll disappear if you really concentrate on it. You know, and so so this is used for praying. I use it for the 4 directions. The 4, everything is in 4. You know.
And male and female.
Yeah, this is the female part, and this is the male part. When they come together, they're one. And there's many pipes. There's clan pipes. We have a clan system within our own tribe. See, all those old ones that I told you about, Simon Kokwatos, you know, all his ones, they knew the language. They never knew English. And so they had a clan system where one person would represent that family. And today it's like that too, but we have to tell these kids, you know, why it's important to have a clan system, because you don't want to mix your blood. You know what happens when you mix your blood. You know, your kids won't turn out. Something will be wrong with them, and so that's why it's important to not show them ways like that. But the clan system was in effect, because I'm Beaver Clan. You got Eagle Clan, you got Deer Clan, you got Otter Clan. All those ones are, you know, they come together. Wolf Clan, and something might be wrong with the eagle, you know, and they can figure it out real fast, you know, just by the environment. If there's something wrong with the eagle or something wrong with, you know, the beaver or the fish, or, you know, so in an environmental way, that's why we protect the water. So there's a lot of stories, a lot of good teachings, you know, and this area here is, you know, where is our creation story, you know, where we come from. Our drums, you know, our drums come from the earth, and those are, you know, sung. And man, I just keep going on. And any more questions or anything? Go ahead.
I have a question. Once in a while, our son, who lives in northern Minnesota, asks us to cut our cedars that are in Door County, branches, and make sure we put tobacco where we cut the branches. And then he takes the cedar back to Duluth area and gives it to the Anishinaabe friends and makes tea with it. But again, it was important for us to put the tobacco where we put the branches.
Yeah, tobacco is a very powerful. It can take lives too. You can, you know, wind it and all that. But the cedar is also a sacred plant, medicinal plant for healing. Tea, you know, tea especially. You get sick or something, you can. Yeah, and the cedar, you can actually make rope out of the bark. You know, like right now, rope, you can get that from the cedar, you can get it from basswood, you can get it Mo's mesh, they would call it. It's that stringy, what they make wigwams out of, tie poles, and it's all in the earth. You know, that's, to me, you know, they always told me that's your Walmart out there in the woods. You know, it's all out there. You know, so. But yeah, cedar is very, very. You dry it out and it helps you heal. You know, every day try to, you know, just dry it out, and then kind of burn it a little bit and put sage with it, and kind of, you know, you're not feeling good or something, you just smoke yourself down, and maybe, you know, sometimes those things that bother you, you know, the other spirits, them bad ones, it'll take them out of there. Yeah.
So why is it important to leave the tobacco there when you cut the branches?
It's an offering to that spirit, because you're taking that part of that spirit there. Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a quick question, and maybe, hopefully you have an answer to it. But we hear about the end of the peninsula up here, and then where Washington Island is, there's a body of water between the two islands and the peninsula. And some of the stories say that it comes from all the ships that have sunk there, and that's why they call it Death's Door. I've also heard the story about the fighting tribes that were fighting with each other in that area, and one of the tribes actually lost their lives trying to cross over. since you're the authority on this and you know the stories, I was hoping to hear the rest of the story from you.
I think that's called ghost, Jibosa or something like that. It's it's in that spirit, that water, because that's where the all these currents come together from both sides here. You know, when one's upset or something like that, it'll start moving around. But they say there's a serpent in the earth, and that serpent's part of that creation story again. And so up in that way, I've heard stories about the, well, there's other tribes here too that were Huron, all at war. Long ago, we used to be at war at Sioux. Ojibwe, Odawa, we were at war with them because they wanted to come over and take our women and our rice. You know, in our creation story, you know, we come to this place, even up in Mink River, they said that it used to be all wild rice. That's part of why we were here, because we were supposed to go where the food grows on the water. So up in that area, yeah, it's a water spirit, and we were at war at one time. That's what they wanted to, you know, come to get. But we wouldn't let them, because long, hundreds, thousands of years ago, that's how we were fighting too, you know, over land. And, yeah, I heard about that, about a fire, I guess. They were supposed to signify that it's okay to come across from Washington Island, and when they did, the Winnebago captured these Potawatomi, and they killed that one, and the other one told on them what was supposed to happen. And so they lit that fire, and I was up on I guess on them ridges. Yeah, then they come over on the canoes, and they took big rocks, and they start throwing them on the canoes, and there was like a bunch of waves, and, you know, really, the water was really bad then, you know. Like on a windy day, that's all it was. And so by killing all of them in that way, they say like one of them snow squalls, them really heavy winds come along and knocked them off the cliff, and they perished, went right in the water and died too, you know. That's part of the story that's been told. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
In the late 60s, I was at university in Green Bay, and I had an Indian friend named Skinador. He lives in Wisconsin Dells, and he said to come over and visit him because he lived in a teepee for the summer. So I did the following summer, and was surprised to find he had air conditioning and TV.
Yeah, with our tribe, we're a woodland tribe. We never grew, or we never had teepees. You know, we had wigwams, or longhouses. When I came in here, somebody said something about poles, and I remember the poles when I was growing up, because that's what they made. Like here, these would be poles across, and a big round. Those were, that was the longhouse. It looked similar to this, but figure cedar poles, and cedar bark and birch bark and all that covered the whole thing. Yeah.
So you never had teepees in this area? That's mostly out west?
Yeah, out west, that's Plains Indians.
I know in Canada they did. We used to go fishing, and the Indians would come, the families live in the teepees, and the guys would be guides, and the women would clean the cabins and things, but they lived in teepees, and it was up around Red Lake in Canada, northwest Ontario.
Okay.
That was many years ago too.
Yeah, around about Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, that would be like a plains Indians. And you got Southwest Indians, and, you know, a lot of the history, you can't read about that in them books, how them Indians were, but a lot of them don't teach about the Potawatomi, how we lived up this way. So our museum explains all that too. So a lot of we have schools that come and tour the museum, and they get educated on that, because Wisconsin has a statute called Act 31, And that's part of what the teachers have to learn. You know, you have to learn all that. Yeah, to teach Indian kids. But yeah, education. Yeah.
Well, this has been very educational. Thank you. One of the lessons that I've learned from the things that I got from your library and elsewhere is that a lot of the fighting, when you talk about, you know, the Sioux and the other tribes that settled here, it was because they were continually being forced into another area that was home to another tribe. And even though the land is there, and the conflict came when the newcomers came in, and when it's a handful of people, you can welcome them with open arms. And as more and more people were forced together in a small area. So,
yeah.
Thinking about warlike cultures, it was kind of forced because of outside treaties and rules. Yeah. Because there were many tribes, you know, on Door County. I started trying to decide, you know, who to pursue. Washington Island was called Potawatomi Island, right?
Yeah, we still have a cemetery over there. Yeah. A lot of historic significance in that area.
Yes.
Yeah. This was my presentation I was going to read you guys, and a lot of this was taken from our museum, and then it's our true story of what took place here. It was called Educational Presentation on the Fire Nation People, Liberty Grove and Northern Door Peninsula, around Sault Ste. Marie, U.S. national policies, boarding schools.
I was going to say, yeah, we could share it somewhere.
Boarding schools, and yeah, this is all on the website. If you go on Facebook, and it explains our whole history of where we became to be today.
Good.
And it's.
And if we get permission, we can link, you know, on our website and our Facebook, we can link directly
to your site.
Get directed to your site.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll show all our cultural, our happenings and stuff, you know, powwows and kids events. A lot of that is just, man, it's just ongoing, you know, and it helps out. Even if you like do book reports in school, I see some young kids back here. If they were ever, you know, want to do a book report, go on there and you'll see the whole history of who we are and, you know, treaties and all that, and just keep writing it down. And some of the teachers in school too, they're pretty, they say, where'd you get all that information, you know? Why don't I know this, you know? So now they do. So
Yeah, it's all about sharing.
Go ahead.
Is everyone welcome to attend the powwows?
Yeah, you can attend the powwows. We have a veterans powwow coming up this month. And we have our summer powwow, and there's other powwows in the state too. We have a hunting moon powwow that's going to be in Milwaukee. See, it originated from when we hunted. Now, hunting moon in October, you know, that's the time to gather, and pretty much all the wild foods are good, and so that's part of the hunting moon. Yeah.
Okay, well, what I'll do is take your microphone and clear this area, and people can see the regalia up close. And thank you, Sam, again.